Hi, I'm Nathan Wilson.
I'm Aaron Tavener.
Today we're going to discuss the topic of naturally aspirated engines versus turbocharged engines.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to also establish a context here. We're going to talk about cars that come from the factory. We're not going to talk about your neighbor's uncle's cousin's turbocharged Honda Civic Si.
You mean my 5.9 turbocharged Cummins diesel with injector pump cranked up and 100 psi worth of boost ain't in this conversation?
Ain't talking about it.
Don't care.
We're also not talking about your Uncle Rick's big block Chevrolet.
So, what are pros and cons?
Yeah, we could do that. Talk about
pluses and minuses.
Pluses and minuses. So modern day cars are going towards the turbocharging, direct injection, high compression route. And the problem with this, in my opinion, is that they're turbocharging a motor that was no good naturally aspirated. Problem. I mean, most of the aftermarket applications, people will
Seems like an improvement.
Yeah, well, most aftermarket applications are turbocharging. They generally turbocharge an engine that is good in a LS engine, turbo, heaven.
Okay. But we're not talking about those.
But we're not talking about those. Moving on. So most of the modern cars do that. So I mean, we can use an example. So, let's use a car that maybe that your parents or your parents' parents would buy or end up driving, or you may end up riding it or driving one day. Chevrolet Malibu.
Mm-hmm.
Turbocharged 2-liter Ecotec 4-cylinder.
Oh, the new one. Okay.
New one. Chevrolet Malibu.
Okay.
It's got a nice engine on the knocks. It's got 260 horses, 295 foot-pounds, running on regular unleaded. It's a good torquey motor. It's weird. The way that GM has it set up is that they make it feel really torquey on the low end, but on the big end, like the higher RPMs, it falls on its face.
You would think that a turbocharged vehicle would pick up a little bit.
But the turbo on it is about the size of a Chihuahua testicle. So it's.
Well, and here's the thing too, is my brother drives a Volkswagen Passat. It's a 2014 Volkswagen Passat 2-liter turbo. No, maybe 1.8. Might be 1.8. But my engine, I have a 02 Focus SVT, both cars completely stock. And his car was turbocharged, and he wanted to line up and do a little. Well, he just wanted to do a little drag race and see what his car would do. And these cars aren't really set up for drag racing, obviously, but my car is naturally aspirated, made 12 years beforehand, and walked it. Yeah, manual transmission, his is automatic. We were about even up to about 30 miles an hour, and then after that, I just completely walked away from him. And his is turbocharged, similar size engine. Now, granted, his car is heavier.
4-door.
His car is quite a bit heavier, a little bit, but still, in my opinion, the main, I would think that a turbocharged engine, even though it's not that much heavier, I would think that the turbo engine should have a little bit better output.
Absolutely. And the problem with the turbocharged engine nowadays is that they have this torque curve that is just simply biased towards the low end, and it's nice and slopey, and then it peaks at like, $4,000 and then just falls on its face.
But see, that's one of the things that I don't like about some turbo applications is that it's like a switch. It's like you have nothing, and that's one of the cons as far as turbos go. Is that you have the parasitic loss, you got turbo lag, everybody knows about turbo lag, and you got heat problems. Heat's really bad as far as materials go, as far as the output of the engine. After a time, you got really high underhood temps.
Heat will do it, and my
NA motor's not going to have all those underhood as much now relative to a turbo car.
Right.
Typically, it would not have
detonation.
All that extra heat.
Detonation. Number 2, like just straight up. The Malibu was talking about earlier. You put regular fuel in it because GM says that's okay. Well, it's noisy with regular fuel.
Mm-hmm.
The heat soak is terrible with regular fuel. If you were to jump on it a couple times, you feel the power loss. You can tell the power falling off even more because of the heat soak killing it. Now you can fix that with premium fuel, and the heat soak will become less apparent to you, but the problem still remains as far as the power band's concerned. It does this and then falls off. So my thing with NA motors is that their they're less complex, but they have a linear power band. So the torque curve does something more like this and just rises, plateaus, and falls down. And that's something that's awesome, because that's something that's getting really hard to find nowadays in vehicles, especially of the performance nature. So when you go look at a Mazda Speed 3, or you go look at a Subaru WRX STI, or you look at a Lancer Evolution Evo, or whatever, Evo 10, Evo. So the problem with those cars is that
Evo 96 and a half.
Evo 96 and a half.
Whatever,
I mean,
it's an evolution. So
it's an evolution of
just keeps
something.
going.
Right. So the problem with those cars is that they all have the same exact problem. You know, they have awesome low mid-range torque, but then you get over 5,000 RPMs, they choke. Now here is a pro to turbocharged factory engines. Put a tune on that thing. Do it. Because that just completely uncorks another can of whoop ass.
If the bottom end can take it. If it can take a little more boost.
The problem generally
like
isn't with the engine, because it was designed for forced induction. The problem generally is with the turbos. You'll start blowing out turbo seals. You'll start doing stuff like that.
Spinning them too fast?
Yep. You spin them too fast. Stuff like that. You run into those problems with reliability. But that is a cool part of the turbocharged engine. Now, my thing, I like naturally aspirated engines. And honestly, I would turbocharge an engine that I liked in A.
Make it better.
Make it better.
Take something good, make it better.
Exactly.
Take something bad, turbo it, you got something decent.
Right. I mean, who'd want to drive a 2-liter Ecotec 4-cylinder without a turbo?
And a car that weighs 1,800 pounds?
I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't want it.
It's worthless.
I don't want it.
Worthless.
Junk. And if you can even look at some of the other applications, like a Ford EcoBoost V6, that's a pretty powerful motor. But even that torque curve, you look at some of the dynos, it takes a minute. It's interesting the way they have it set up. It takes them between the torque converter locking up versus the turbo spooling up and all this other stuff. It's weird.
So you're basically saying that you prefer larger displacement, naturally aspirated, versus smaller displacement, turbocharged.
Yeah. And not to mention, the turbocharged engines sound terrible. Terrible. Sounds like the last dump I took. Terrible.
You might need to go get that checked.
I might need to get that checked. But, okay, you go drive 2011 to 2014 F-150. Drive one with the EcoBoost. It sounds like a blender. Okay. Drive one with the 6.2 liter naturally aspirated V8. That sounds like...
Yeah, the 0 to 60 on the new ones is...
Dude, stupid.
5.5, something like that.
Dude, Car and Driver tested the 2015 F-150 EcoBoost. Platinum, crew cab, fully loaded.
Z71, Texas edition.
0 to 60 at 5.6 seconds. That's stupid for a truck.
I mean, it's really good for something that weighs like 5,500 pounds.
I was like, damn.
I'd still have a Ram Express.
I mean, you could if you wanted to lose a drag race.
I don't enjoy leaf springs, not even in a truck.
I don't enjoy getting my butt whooped by a blender.
Not good.
So what do you guys think? You think, would you rather have the smaller displacement turbocharged blender or the naturally aspirated badassery associated with Mint? I mean, it's really
fair question.
It's a good question. I think it's a fair question. There's been a lot of downsizing and turbocharging been going on, and there's been a lot of gagging in my bathroom. The new M3 M4 turbocharged straight 6 that replaced that glorious V8. It made, if God had an engine,
it would be a 426 Hemi.
It would not.
Good.
It would not, because God is not
interested in.
No, he's not. He's not interested in sucking. Anyway, if God had an engine note, it would be from the M division. It's naturally aspirated V8s and V10s. If Satan had an engine note.
Actually, I don't know, Satan would probably have a pretty awesome engine.
No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't, actually, because he is the author of sin. And sin is replacing badassery
Satan would
with
drive
blenders.
a Toyota Prius.
Basically.
Sin.
Repent. Repent and turn away.
We forgive you. We're praying for you.
If you're Catholic...
Prius owners, Catholic, Protestant, Baptist.
It don't matter.
Don't matter.
Sin. Muslim. Repent to Allah. And get the Quran textbook
Atheist, just stop what you're doing.
thing.
Basically.
Pause.
Stop what you're doing. Pause yourself.
Pause. There's no reason for that. But yeah, what do you think? What do you think?
Not just what you like, but why. That's the most important thing because it's a bit of a debate, sure, but it's more so just expressing and talking about what you prefer and the kind of stuff that you like and the main. It's not just what you prefer, but why you prefer it. That's the main thing. That's the main thing that we're interested in.
The tunability of a turbocharged engine is excellent. Still
That's
sounds
a great point.
Still sounds like a blender.
That's great.
Still sounds like a blender.
So let us know what you think.
Do you want your engine noise piped through a stereo, or do you want your engine noise?
Mercedes does that.
Dude,
BMW does that.
Ford does it. BMW does it. Mercedes does it. All these people that put these crap lower displacement turbocharged BS in their cars do that because they simply sound terrible.
And they know it.
And they know it. Do you want your cars?
Does the Ferrari F12 Berlinetta have speakers in the exhaust? Actually, it might. I think you can. I think you can adjust the way that it sounds. But
Yeah, it's sport and not sport. It opens flaps in the exhaust. Do you want your sound to be piped through speakers, or do you want your sound piped through pipes?
it's a legitimate
It's
question.
up to you.
Legitimate
Turn up the volume knob or press the throttle. You can drive a Hyundai Veloster or a dadgum Lamborghini Aventador. Let us know.